What's up, guys? Welcome to this Friday episode. Today, it is something different. We are testing something where we've broken this podcast into 3 distinct sections for your viewing pleasure. We're going to break it up so that you can watch the whole thing, or you can watch any of these 3 as shorter clips. The first one, we talked about our property day on the weekend that happened and exactly what went on during the day, how 2 of our clients have gone from 0 to 170 blocks of land with $100 million worth of real estate in the pipeline, starting with no money and using none of their own money. Extraordinary story. After that, we talked about the talk that I gave at the start of the second day, which is really, really powerful insights into money and why you feel like your life is going backwards financially, because it actually is. And we unpack the real impact of inflation on the average person in this world and what to do about it. I think you're going to find this discussion really eye-opening. And the third part was where we talked about TikTok shops, which was an element of the day on Saturday that we just had. And we went into great detail around why this may be one of the most exciting opportunities, whether you're a brand owner or whether you're looking to add income to your life with no talent for business at all, but you have a uniqueness about you. This is a really unexpected aspect of this pod where if you don't watch it, you're missing out, because it's a really exciting business opportunity for almost anybody watching this pod, irrespective of whether you're a brand owner or not. With that said, let's jump in and let us know what you think in the comments. What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. This is going to be a really interesting one. We are trying something new today. We're actually going to do our normal session where we record straight through for around an hour, but we're going to break it up into hopefully 3, maybe even 4 little 20-minute, 15, 20-minute clips for you guys, so that if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, you can watch the clips, which is going to be cool, and we'll just see how it goes. But please give us some feedback. If you end up watching some of the clips, drop a comment underneath and let us know if you like that format, if you want us to keep doing that. Just makes it a bit more snackable instead of needing an hour and a half every single time. With that said, welcome to the pod, Mr. Eric Machado. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, good. I'm re-energized after the weekend. We had obviously a couple of amazing events, and Sunday caught up to me, and I was quite tired all day, to be honest with you. It's like the energy just got zapped out of me. So back at it and re-energized, and happy to be here with you boys.
Yeah, it's intense, wasn't it, the weekend? We'll get into that in the pod shortly, share what was going on. James, what's happening, mate? How are you?
Good. Much the same as Eric. The weekend was great. It was we'll unpack it as we go, but yeah, it certainly took its toll. That's for sure. A full day sitting on a bus, zipping around the Gold Coast and the hinterland and whatnot. I felt like I had to fucking run a marathon. I was tired, but it was good. And obviously the Saturday, meeting some interesting people in the room, which we'll unpack, and some unsuspecting dark horses in it, that's for sure.
Yeah, so interesting crowd. Huh?
Yeah, very interesting crowd. So
yeah. And we've got a new guest with us today, Perry Bentley. How are you, Perry?
Mate, guys, I didn't even know there was an event on this weekend. I've just come in for today.
That's called age, mate.
Last man on the deal tape.
Yeah, but just to jump on what you guys said, wow, how good was this weekend? The property day, 54 people. We just every single thing we learned about commercial and residential, it's stuck with me. And it's really started making me think, okay, how do I get my assets into those classes? And then the Saturday, I feel like I spoke to every single person at the event, and every single one of them said the same thing. When are you doing the next one?
Mm-hmm. For those of you wondering who Perry is, Perry's actually the third owner of Unemployable. He's here from South Korea, where he lives.
안녕하세요.
What's that?
안녕하세요.
What's
means
that?
Hello.
Means hello.
Yeah.
From South Korea. He is actually quite a big deal in South Korea. He's the token Westerner in the Expedia ads up there, aren't you?
Right, yeah. What is it? 95% of the population is Korean, and I'm part of the 5%. And then I think only about 2,000 people are English. So, yeah, we stick out like a sore thumb, basically. But you Aussies, you stick out worse. The accent, mate.
You do get those acting gigs because of it, right?
I do. The first time I ever got them, they said to me, hey, we're looking for a guy with brown hair and blue eyes. And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 of you up there.
Yeah. Do you know what? I beat him.
Thanks for being here, Perry. It's going to be great to dive into it. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about the Friday session. For those of you wondering what we're talking about, we did our first Unemployable live event. So What it was a 2-day event. The first day was exclusively for our coaching clients. We had 54 of them coming in from all over the country, and we put them onto buses. We had 2 coaches that we filled up, and we put them onto buses, and we took them around real estate deals that and took them onto real estate deals to show them how to make money out of real estate. And we had this book, which you can see on camera if you're watching us on YouTube, which is a 45-page guide for the day. We took them, we had 12 on the schedule, but one of the buses broke down, so we ended up at 9. But we went to 4 commercial properties, 3 of which were mine, 1 of which was with Eric's. And then we did the rest were residential deals with 2 of our clients, Carson and Shannon, which were residential deals. Now, their story was amazing, right? Like, these are 2 guys. One of them was a civil works guy who actually worked in a civil works company, pushing dirt around for a living. And the other one was a carpet cleaner who, interestingly, used to clean the carpets in the first commercial building that we showed in the day. I had a church in there as a tenant. He was the cleaner, and he was cleaning for Eric in his luxury resorts company. 4 years later, those guys met at a family barbecue, and Carson was trying to do his first real estate deal, talked to Shannon for advice on the civil piece, and said, could you do this for me? And he said, yeah, for sure. He said, how about you partner with me? And they started with no money. They literally put together a site, found an investor who was a high net worth lady in their community, and she backed them in exchange for a share of the profits. And I think originally it was a 30-70 split. I think it was a 50-50 split. They screwed up on the GST, so they ended up getting 30%. And that's where they started. Fast forward 4 years, they now have 170 blocks of land, $100 million worth of real estate in development, and they've done it really quite conservatively, using, when I say conservatively, for them, they've taken on partners and used other people's money almost all of that way. And so that was an absolutely extraordinary opportunity to spend a day. We had one of them in each of the buses, and they actually took us to their site, starting with a very simple, where they bought a block of land, knocked down some trees and built a housing pad. And then they bought it for, I think, $530 and sold it for $950. And then they showed us some simple ones, and then they showed us some of the larger ones, one of which they put in $170,000 and pulled out $2.7 million. So we actually were in the buses with them. We drove to those sites and walked the ground, and you could ask as many questions as you want. What did you take out? Like, James, you've had a bit of experience in real estate. What was your takeaways, and what was your experience of that?
Yeah, it's great. And just I think the big distinction there is what their main target is, where they've carved out their niche, is they like deals with warts on them, all the stuff that most developers walk from because of the civil costs, because of the environmental and whatnot. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see the niche that they've carved out. And just the money in it, because obviously when you've got deals with warts on them, they're not the upfront's not the entry level, because there's very limited competition. And what they do with them is quite incredible. And also just in the way of conventional development, when you're doing a lot of civil works, sort of underground works, and then obviously do you take it through and put the house on it and complete it as well? They try and steer clear of that. They just, from this very basic, simple stuff, push a road in, put some power on, and that's probably as far as they go. So it's very lightweight construction when it comes to...
There's nothing built above a curb.
Nothing built
with
above
that whole fortune that's being made.
Correct. Yeah, no, so they've got a really great model to put together. So very worthwhile having a look at some of those deals, which I think that book's going to become available.
We're going to actually give this away, guys, to anybody who's interested, just so you can see what our clients got access to, because it's got all the deals in here. It's got the prices, what they were bought for, what was done, how much profit was in it, and everything. So stay tuned for that. We're going to let you know shortly about that. But what I found interesting, James, there, like you identified, I said at the start of the day, what you're going to learn from today is that you don't need to go global or all over Australia. You just need to pick a pocket. They're basically from southern Brisbane, Logan, home, sort of down to the Gold Coast, that little pocket. I made my millions of dollars out of Burleigh, literally one suburb. I made millions of dollars from 3 buildings, which I took people around. And Eric's made a fortune down in Burleigh as well, just literally one suburb. And I said to the young people there on the bus, I said, all of you young people here, you've got to pay special attention, because you're the richest among us when it comes to minutes. And what you're going to learn today, like time, you're time rich. What you're going to learn today is how you can do this with no money. They literally were doing it with no money. And we stopped the buses and said, all right, unpack when money was paid, who paid that money. Show us exactly how you really did it, including the cost of these options and the due diligence fees and all that stuff. Perry, what is it?
It's just the something that you just said there that really resonated. It's the fact that people like myself have all the time to go do all of the due diligence, do all of the finding of the properties, looking at everything, and then getting in contact with people that maybe have the cash but don't have the time to be looking for it. Because if you give it to someone like you free, just going, hey, by the way, I've got all of this information on a property. What do you think? And you want to make more money anyway, right? It might be a good punt, and that's what I thought was really great. The other thing which really hit well with me was how normal those guys are. Like, they're legitimately just like, hey, so we did it like this. We go to a property, we subdivide it. I was going like, why does my brain not even comprehend that this is logic? And everyone else I was speaking to was thinking the same thing. Like, why is this not just standard information?
They're like family guys. They go to church on Sundays. They were very unpretentious.
Very humble.
No Ferraris or Lamborghinis in sight, just Billabong baseball cap and board shorts. And, there's a lot of those guys in property. I bought my properties in Burleigh from guys that rock around in ruggers and a 25-year-old Hilux ute that are multi-millionaires, Eric, I mean, you've been in property for a while. What did you learn from those guys? I mean, I learned a shitload.
Yeah, same. I mean, I learned how difficult actual building and residential is compared to land, I think, because you're dealing with so many more people, to be honest with you. They're dealing with a handful of consultants at the beginning and a real estate agent, and that's it. And that's where it gets cut off, and they're making, these millions of dollars. But again, I just love how humble they are. Like Perry said, they're just literally, they're just lads, typical Aussie dudes. And I love that about them. And also how open they are with their information and how honest. Usually people like that will hold their cards very close to their chest because they think everyone else is going to go and copy them and, compete against them. And they were literally there breaking down every deal. So in the buses, each bus had Shannon and Carson in the bus, and in between going from site to site. So some sites, were 10 minutes from each other, but some sites were over an hour to get there. And they literally sat there and broke down every single deal. And they were so open, like you just said, they were supposed to be 50-50, but then it ended up 30-70. So they're not just bullshitting you along the way saying, I've made this, I've made that. They said, and this is the why, and this is why we didn't make the 50, because we screwed up on the GST on the first one because we didn't know. Now that will never happen ever again. And what I love about what they do now is they started no money in, and now they're just building a bit of a war chest themselves that now they can cash flow and compound some of the growth that they've had over time and invest in their own developments. But like he said, always happy to look at different JVs and stuff. And one question I asked them, because Adam and I coach these guys, and a lot of the time when we're coaching them, they're bringing us feasibilities. And some of the stuff that they're now working on are some big projects like that one they showed us up in Brisbane, right? We're talking multi $10 million deals. And their feasibilities are still so conservative. And that's why one question I asked, I go, because some of the returns they're getting are astronomical. And I'm like, what are you guys doing with all the other ones that, you don't give the tick of approval to? Because those ones are there'll be still great returns for a lot of people here. And that's one question I asked. And the reason why I said that is because I wanted the other, 52 clients that are there to then go, actually, that's a great idea. Let me learn this stuff. And I could just sit there and get drip fed by, a couple of these projects from Carson and Shannon as an example. Carson mentioned for every 90 to 95 offers, they only get 2 or 3. And I'm telling you, there's probably another 2 or 3 in there that are quite good, but they're just not at the standard that they're at because they're 4 years in now. But I'm telling you, if they were 1 year in, they'd probably take some of those deals. So
I think, Eric, there's a big thing there. Like I said to a lot of the audience, even if you do a deal and don't make a profit on the first one, if you just complete one, you go from 0 land to subdivisions to 1 land subdivision or 1 land development. Like the very first one we looked at was a really steep block. Yeah, it's a lot of guys had sort of avoided. Even if you bought that, cleared the trees, built the pad, and then sold it, even if you made 10 grand, but you got to work with a civil engineer and you got to work with putting the power in and you got to work with the council and the approvals process, that that would be a free education that would elevate you out of the crab bucket to somebody who now has experience. And that's priceless.
The learning's in the doing.
Yes.
And you can read so many books on any sales, whether it be property or whatever. You can read as much as you want till you get out there and fuck it up a few times. Is when you certainly work it out about what not to do moving forward. And they were very open about their some of their errors along the way as well. So, which is the humble part of the humbleness is going, here's where we screwed it up.
Yeah, and I love that they know exactly what they're doing and what they're not doing. So I'm that kind of guy. We're on the Jacobs Well development that they did, and then you've seen a few of the houses being built. And in my mind, I'm like, so why don't you guys build the houses as well? And then you can make a snippet there. And they're just like, that's not what we do. We're land developers, and we just stick to land. And I'm like, that there is powerful.
That is a lesson. Yeah.
What was they mentioned about, spending an hour of someone's time with them. They said, town planner, just even ask 2 or 3 of them, say, I'll pay for your time. And, 2 out of 3 of them probably won't even charge you because they want the business review. And how valuable that is.
I think that's a huge unlock, what you're pointing out there, Perry, because a lot of people, like I said at the start of the day to everybody, you've turned up here, I said this on the Saturday actually, you've turned up here with a set of beliefs that have got you to the results that you currently have in your life. What I hope you do today is examine those results and beliefs and hopefully leave today with some new ones. And listeners watching this or listening to it on Spotify, if you think about the results you got in your life, there are results and beliefs that you have. What are the things that really, if you stop and think about it, why aren't you to subdividing land? Why weren't you in the coaching program? Like we said, it's $2,500 a month. You can come along. You could have joined a month before and turned up and spent this day with these multimillionaires who've had this incredible story, been on a bus, but people don't give themselves permission to go. Like, what is stopping you from making those decisions, for one? But for two, if I was to ask you, why aren't you doing this right now? For example, Perry might say, well, I don't have the money. Okay, well, let's examine that belief. Is that a real thing? No. Okay, well, if he goes, okay, I'm prepared to accept money's not there. I don't have the expertise. I'm not a civil works guy like Shannon is. Well, is that a real belief? Actually, you can buy a civil works guy's time for a few $100s. And then even if you had to pay retail for the civil works guy to do the thing, if you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a $20 book that you can buy on Amazon, you can actually build a relationship with a civil works guy because they're guys that push dirt around, right? When you turn up and buy them lunch and say, listen, I've got a family, I've got a young family, I haven't got a lot of money and I'm really determined to be successful. And I know that it's by working with guys like you that have this knowledge that I can get there. Would you help me? I'm happy to pay, help me learn this. You would be amazed at what those guys just don't have people approaching them like that with that attitude and that approach. And now all of a sudden you've got at the very least a civil works guy who will work for you on a fee. And at the best, you might find a Shannon who says, you know what, mate, if you've got some money and you go find the deals, I'll put the civil works in for a cut because Shannon realized I've been pushing dirt around making people millions of dollars and not myself. And he said to me on the bus quietly, he said, Adam, the funny thing about the last 4 years, and now I've got 170 blocks of land of my own, nothing really changed for me. The only thing that changed is that I was pushing dirt around for myself instead of someone else. And Shannon is the one that actually helped me get on that path. So what I'm saying to everybody listening, and I spoke to Josh, my son, and I got his girlfriend to come for the day as well because I wanted them to both see this at the same time. I said, guys, mum and dad have money, but we don't have the drive at this point to go out and do this stuff. We're at a different stage of our lives. And there's a lot of people like me that are 50 plus who've got capital that want to partner with people like Shannon and Carson. Now, they don't need our money now because they're further down, but the people who are younger and are hungry like they are and are good people, that's what we do. We allocate capital. Eric's getting to the point now where he's going to be just allocating capital at some point, and he's going to be done with business at some point. And that's going to be his job, is to find smart, young, trustworthy people that they can invest. And our job is our game will be return on capital. And so in this value chain of property development, there are people who find deals, there are people that develop deals, there are people who provide the money. They're all separate roles that exist. And Ari said it to me, who is Josh's, my son's girlfriend. He said, I didn't realize, she's an architect in a firm. And she said, I didn't realize that there were guys like Shannon and Carson who just find the land and then sell it to the developer. And she said, I'm in the industry. I had no clue. She said, I understood so much of that, but that was eye-opening to me. And I said, what about if you actually become that person?
You know what I love about their style of business as well is the flexibility that it gives you. You can go and do that for 2 years' time, settle on your last deal, and then you can go fuck off to Europe for 6 months if you wanted to, come back and nothing else has changed. There's still going to be the same deals out there, and it's the same process that they're going to use. Whereas us, when we're building businesses, you're building businesses and the finger needs to be on the pulse every single day. And that's why I always like to have, partners, because I like the flexibility, because if I go away or they go away, we kind of got each other's backs. Where in that situation is you can go and make $5 million in 1 year and go, you know what, I'm taking 1 year off and I'm just going to take my kids to school every single day and do whatever you need to do. And then I'll just come back in a year and do it again, because nothing changes. The deals are still there and the strategies that they're using won't change either.
And there's just two of them. There's no staff. There's no overhead. They've got a little office in Burley just purely so they can get out of the house. And as you said, property is a slow-moving animal. Like went from acquisition to DA to the it's not an intense 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. night roll.
One of the guys that was there on Saturday was Brent, my friend Brent, who's Australian but lives in Switzerland. And we had lunch yesterday, and he's a property expert. Brent's only 40 years old, right? And he's made a lot of money. He's done really well. And I said, what are you doing back here? He came to our event. And I said, why are you back here? Because we went to lunch at Ferry Road yesterday. He said, I'm just back here doing a couple of deals. And I said, tell me about the deals. He said, I'm building a private hospital for a high net worth
client. You told me about those last afternoon.
Yeah, I'm building a private hospital while I'm back for a few months. And I'm also doing a joint venture with a contact who's a wealthy Melbourne guy who's got a huge site. And said, he's going to build 35, I think, tilt slab factories. And the guy said, I want 10. And you can have the rest if you manage the whole thing for me. And so he just comes back to Australia, lives in Switzerland, which is, of course, very tax efficient, comes back to Australia, does some projects, and then goes back to Switzerland and lives his life. And, there's these people out there that you'll discover once you start down that journey. Property, there's a lot of money, both locally and internationally, that would love to invest in Australian real estate with competent operators. And so if you're a young person listening to this, I honestly believe it is one of the best places to start.
I've got just a sneaky little plug in there. So, Adam, you did a property partners course a while back, and the only thing that's changed in that is the numbers. Everything else, the way that you've learned, the process is exactly the same. And just putting it out there, it's a great course, and I've watched it twice. So.
Yeah, we put it in our coaching clients get all of those courses, and that Property Partners one is specifically on commercial property.
Correct, yeah.
And I take you inside of the 3 properties that I showed you on the weekend, and I'll walk you through and say, this one I bought for 1.7 million, I sold it for 4.5 million. And I'm actually teaching you from inside that property, and I'll walk you around and show you where I added value and so on. And that's a cool benefit of being.
The only difference on that is that the events that we did, the property day, is that you literally got to put your feet on the ground, which was amazing.
And ask questions while you were there, which was so powerful. People were blown away with it, feel it and touch it.
And that's why it's so important to have face-to-face events like that, because Shannon and Carson, they're on every coaching call every week. They're on there, either Shannon or Carson or both. And we're looking at everybody just on a Zoom call, right? And we tell everybody, make sure you reach out to everybody, introduce yourselves. But let me tell you, all the people that were in those buses that now see Shannon and Carson will come from a place of authority, and they frame themselves as property experts, right? So people will look up to them in that space now. And if there's ever an opportunity where they're, needing money or, raising capital as an example, there's going to be a lot of people with their hands up just from our community, because there's people from all different levels and different walks of life. And some are more wealthy than others. But let me tell you, they'll be putting up their hands straight away, because what they've built is so much trust, showing those 9 properties and showing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the mistakes and where they are now. It just builds that trust.
It's really powerful for this reason as well. So many people in this country, their number one excuse is, it's all right when you're rich. It's all right when you got the money. Let me tell you the truth. Shannon and Carson's last problem is money. That's the easiest part of the puzzle to solve. I did a deal with one of the best, actually the best real estate deal I ever did was with a guy like Shannon and Carson who found a property. He needed $1.2 million equity to buy it. It was a $3.2 million purchase. And some of it was to buy it and some of it was to improve it. And he was looking for 10 investors, and I knew the guy well, super competent, like Shannon and Carson. And I said, I'll give you all 1.2 million and I got 10% return on my money, plus I co-own the property with him. And that's exactly what happened. I got all my money back a year later with the interest, and we own the property together. And some people said to me, why didn't you ask for a majority of the property? And I'm like, because the guy was like Shannon and Carson. He was credible. I'd known him for years. I knew that he was not going to have problem getting the money. The money's not the hard thing to get. Finding quite honest, conservative, proven entities. And anybody can do that if they just start the learning journey. So moving on from property, all I can say, guys, if you're interested in coaching and getting close to these people, join the coaching. That's how you do it. Like, we give you the contact details of everybody in the group. And on Saturday, which we're going to talk about now, we had, I think there were 4 8-figure business owners there in the room, 1 9-figure, one or two 9-figure businesses there. And we had people like Rick speaking, who got $500,000 payout from Microsoft. We had
$500 million.
$500 million. Sorry, not a million. 500
B, capital B.
530 million. Yeah. So is to join the coaching. And again, if you come to a day like that and you can get that close to those people and you still can't multiply the cost of being in the coaching a number of times, it's on you. It's on you. You're just not doing the work.
You're not valuing yourself, right? You're going, you're not giving yourself the permission because of whatever beliefs are holding you back.
Correct.
That's.
So you just go to unemployable.com.au/coaching, send us an inquiry and come and join us, in that program, because it's such a powerful group, and it was so obvious on that day. Just the value. People just walked away just going, holy shit.
It's surprising the people in there, as I said before, at the lunch break, I sat down with a gentleman, just having a chat with him, and as it turns out, he's doing $600-700 a week at a hospitality, but because I'm really actually a developer as well, and I got this, I got my hands in fucking this pie and that pie. I'm like, what don't you do?
Yeah, I spoke with the same guy.
Yeah. And again, humble guy, just chilled out. You'd never expect.
I didn't count those in my peers. I can now think of immediately. You say that 2 more guys there that were 8-figure business. Him and another.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, completely open about it. Yes, yeah. And I'm not going to mention his name or what he's doing hospitality. And he sat there and told me the margins. They're right about 12%. They're doing $600-700 a week.
Yes.
And that's just like fucking hell. And he goes, and here's my manager. I go off to Turkey for 3 months of the year, and no business at all.
And you had him, and then you had Brent, who I just mentioned, and then you had Rick in the room. So like when Shannon and Carson get up for 5 minutes, do you think they're going to have a problem getting money? Like all these people have a shitload of money and not a lot of time and want to grow their money.
Yep.
And so if you're a young person listening to this, pay attention. Like, pay to be close. What's this? Idea, capital, execution. Yeah. Well, that's it. These are our new caps, and that's why it's under the hood there. Idea, capital, execution.
It's a reminder, right?
It's a reminder. Those are the 3 components of getting wealthy. Somebody's got to have the idea, somebody's got to have the money, and somebody's got to execute. And they don't have to be all you.
And that's exactly how Rick does it.
Yeah.
He's got the idea, goes on the operator, and off they go.
But he knows who he is, right? That's the thing, and he'll be on stage and tell you that I'm the guy with the idea.
Rick Richardson says it on his website. I am an inventor. I do not do business. I create world-class patents. Then I partner with an entrepreneur, and we get the money. That's how they do it. Right. So on the Saturday was about entrepreneurship, and it was quite a sort of chocolate box of different things. But the opening session was interesting. It was kind of like it was my talk, and I wanted to do a talk that was sort of universal, would fit everybody, regardless of whether you're an e-commerce person or a property person or a crypto person or whatever. This is. I spoke about it.
So before you say anything, I just want to preface. I went around with a microphone afterwards and was doing interviews of everyone just to see how. And you hit a home run. Legitimately, I was going around, and because we had you, and then we had TikTok Shop, and both completely separate topics, right? But extremely important, both of them. And everyone was going, gosh, Adam just blew my mind. I thought I knew what money was. I thought that I had wealth, but now I've just realized I need to reassess everything that I'm doing. And so, and one of the things that really stuck with me, and it's just understanding that how much is the value of $100 in 30 years' time, and how you broke that down. So I just wanted to start with that preface.
Well, that's actually an interesting one, because, I put up that slide that basically well, the way I started the day for everyone watching is I said, all of us in this room are in the fight of our lives and you don't realize it. And the fight is that we have a thing called inflation and nobody pays really attention to it. We all go, the Reserve Bank of Australia says, our target is 2 to 3% per year. So what I did was I went back in time and went back to 1990 and I said, all right, how much is a can of Coke in 1990 and how much is it today? And the answer was $2.80 today and 80 cents then. And then I went through fresh food and I went through, actual things Australian buy. So an apple, a Coke, a litre of fuel, and excluding real estate, which I'll talk about briefly, the actual compound annual growth rate of costs through inflation is 4.3%, I think it was. Was it 4.3? Yeah, 4.5. Yeah. 4.5%. And so that's what it actually is. And property is 7.3 and rents is 5.5. So if you exclude real estate, because nobody needs a house, right? But if you just look at all the other stuff that we consume, you need to be compounding your income at 4.5% per year just to stay stationary. And I said another way to think about it is rather than the cost of things going up, another way of saying it, the government doesn't want you to say it like this because it would get them voted out, is that your dollar is becoming worth less and less and less. And I showed a map of what $100 today will be worth in 30 years if things are going up by 4.5%. And the answer is $26.70 is what it's worth. So you lose 75% of the value of the Australian dollar over 30 years, and over 100 years, it reduces down to $1.18. So
you could basically call it zero.
You could basically call it zero. This is not the Argentine peso we're talking about. This is the Australian dollar over one lifetime. So when people saying, you hear Bitcoin, people saying fiat currencies all go to zero, they're not being a conspiracy theorist. That's what 4.5% inflation actually does to the value of a dollar. And that was eye-opening. And that's why we said to people, so that to counter the deflating value of your money, you have to inflate the value of your money through investing. And 4.5% is actually not the number because the government's taking a third of your money. You actually need 6.5 or 7% by the time you pay tax to have after-tax dollars equal to 4.5% of growth.
You know what's funny is all these deposit holders that have their money in the bank, right, in these accounts. I think over the last year or so, they were getting half decent returns, right, in the fours, which means it's still not even covering the lot, keeping up. Like if you're getting 4% and that's 4.5%, it's still losing 0.5%.
Pay the tax on that. It's actually 3%.
But people don't understand it.
You're losing 1.5% by being a conscientious saver. If you invest in that best performing, which is real estate, unleveraged, of course, if it's 7.5%, by the time you pay the tax, it's a problem. So this is why I say to people, you're in a fight of your life. And if you are not compounding your money proactively well beyond 6%, you're actually going nowhere. And what's happening is people are going, I'm not seeing it, and they're feeling it by starting to work 2 jobs, living in smaller homes, eating lower quality food. Their life is a result of shrinkflation. Their life is shrinkflation. They're going on less holidays, eating worse quality food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the time we go to retirement, they're going to be living in caravans, and that's going to be a fancy holiday. So it's interesting.
I think what resonated a lot with the people in the audience as well, it's like, I think you coined it as like, of all the seminars you've ever been to, it'd be nice if someone actually just lifted up the kimono and showed them exactly what you're doing. And that's what you did, exactly inside your financial balance sheet, if you will, in your portfolio. And I think people got a lot of value out of that. Whoever's in the room, at whatever stage of their wealth journey, they all seem to resonate really well with that transparency.
Yeah, I did. I showed why I did. I put my entire superannuation into one stock, which was eye-opening to people, to be honest. My superannuation's not a relatively small portion of my overall net worth. But I basically said to people, the idea is to make sure that your money is growing at a CAGR, compound annual growth rate, well beyond the government-issued deflation of your money. Yeah, go ahead.
Just explain what CAGR is for anyone who
compound annual growth rate. So it's a compound annual deflation rate of 4.5% that your money's getting worth less every year. Yeah. So you've got to be growing it and CAGR compound. So I said, this company called MicroStrategy, it's an interesting short story, but they're a publicly traded company. They're in business intelligence software. in the US, and they've been trading sideways for years. And they had $500 million worth of cash in 2020. And the chairman, Michael Saylor, said, this money is becoming less and less valuable as time goes by. Every year it's dropping by 4.5%. Now, 4.5% on $500 million is a lot, right? It's $45 million or whatever, around on $1 billion, whatever it is. It's a lot.
Hey guys, we recently ran a property day where we took people on the road in 2 buses and showed them 12 real estate deals. 4 of them were commercial and the rest were land subdivision deals around the Gold Coast and southern Brisbane. And this is the workbook. It's a 43-page workbook where we actually show you each and every deal, how much was paid for it, how the development was done, how much money was made, and so much more. And we've decided to give this away to anybody who's interested in this kind of thing. All you need to do is go to unemployable.com.au/2024, 2024. It'll give you an insight into what our coaching clients get when they join us in the program. It'll show you how millions of dollars were created through real estate deals right here in Australia just in the last few years, and you can get it for absolutely free. Go to unemployable.com.au/2024.
And so they looked around the world and they said, what we're going to do is we're going to buy Bitcoin, because since Bitcoin started in 2008 to 2020, it's the best performing asset class in the world every year, except for 3 years, on a compound annual growth rate basis. And over it was 170% per year compounding over its entire life. And over the last 5, it's been 55%. So they converted their $500 million in cash, starting in October of 2020. And then they went to the markets and borrowed money at 65 basis points, or 0.65%. By the end of that first year, in the first 3 or 4 months, they had acquired $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And by then accessing capital at, let's say, 1% interest rates and investing in an asset growing at 55%, it's just a simple arbitrage between one asset, which you can get for 1%, which is cash, which is getting worth less and less, and then investing in an asset that's growing. That could be property, it could be Bitcoin, it could be any asset that's growing, and they chose Bitcoin. And since 2020, they started doing that, they became the best performing stock in the world on the S&P, outstripping NVIDIA. Their returns were 1,350% in the last 4 years. NVIDIA is 900%. So when I heard about this trade, being a Bitcoiner, I went, I'm not going to leave my superannuation in cash or stocks that are growing at 6 or 7%. I'm going to have some fun with this. I just put my entire super into MicroStrategy, and I 7x'd it. I didn't catch the ride at the start of the trade. I was about a year late, but I improved my superannuation by 700%. But all that it was an understanding of what's really happening to my money and the urgency to get it out of assets that are performing at less than that.
But again, it's educating yourself. You took the time to research the company, research the CEO, what he's doing. It's basically arbitrage is what he's doing, right? Mm. And meanwhile, the rest of society is there flicking through Facebook and Instagram and watching Netflix, and then whinging about why they can't go on a trip, or why they can't, don't have enough money for dinner and whatnot. And I think this is the other thing is so important. Yes, joining a coaching program, get in a room, but at the same time, everything's available on YouTube, right? The amount I've learned in the last 9 months, just being surrounded by guys like Adam and yourselves that are a lot more savvy than me in certain areas. I've educated myself heavily. I didn't know who Michael Saylor was 18 months ago. And now I do some research on him. I've got Bitcoin as well. And again, it's just a store of value that's hedging against inflation in my eyes. I don't trade it. I just buy it and keep it. And it's just hedging.
Yeah, it's as you said as well, it's you've got Bitcoin is continuously getting hot, right? So there is only X amount of it in the world at any one time. Whereas, what happened during COVID? They basically inflated the price of money continuously, and it put us in a position where we all felt we were uncomfortable. And then now it's starting to bite people back in the arse now. And it's just interesting to think, because I'd always kind of avoided Bitcoin. I'd always thought about yesterday. I have got some in there, but after what you said, I've been really kind of reconsidering where I've got my assets.
None of this, guys, should be financial advice.
No,
I'm very clear about this. Yeah. Like I'm a high school graduate. I've just self-taught. None of us are qualified to give you advice. Talk to whoever you want. Don't listen to us. But I think the wrong number with Bitcoin is 0%. And whether, even if you just buy a little bit to spice up your portfolio, I think that's smart. And I think the world's starting to understand, and they don't really appreciate it till it hits home and they start to feel it. And right now, a lot of Australians are feeling it. And if you're feeling that pinch, I think if you're a family leader, it's behoven on you to actually go and research. Go to hope.com, which is Michael Saylor's website, who's the chairman of MicroStrategy, and they own $16 billion worth of Bitcoin today, right? Go and start your learning journey there and do at least 100 hours of study if you want to become a beginner and 1,000 hours if you want to become an expert. And as Michael said, I've never met anybody who, after doing that 1,000 hours, hasn't bought Bitcoin. And we're talking about Mark Cuban. We're talking about really heavy-hitting people that are now Elon, all these people lining up behind. And I think it's just, worth noting, just having a little maybe. The other thing that people came up to me afterwards, I said, look, as you guys know, I sold a couple of properties a couple of years ago, and I did 2 sales, $8.5 million, which I just invested, and I put it into fixed income. And that fixed income is a diversified product. It's totally managed, and it's paying 9.8%, and I get paid monthly. And so that's been a really interesting transition, which I don't have time to talk about that full reason why I did that. But I'll talk about another day. But what got people really interested, because my private banker was actually there on Saturday, as you guys know, and he got up on stage and spoke about a little bit about what private banking is, and our relationship and how we work together, and all that was quite eye-opening for people. And I said, I'm selling 2 more properties, and my bank manager loves my home, and he always says to me, never sell your home, never sell it. And then I explain, I'm sorry, but I'm selling. and I'm going to sell these 2 more properties in the next few months, and I'm going to invest it in that, and I'm just going to let it compound and not touch it. And I said, look, the properties will bring in about $13 million, no debt on them, sell them. And I said, how much do you think $13 million gets to after 10 years? Because we're going to be overseas for the next little while if we just don't touch it. And people are like, I don't know. I pulled out the compound interest calculator. The number is $30,700,000 if I just don't do anything and just let it compound. Now, part of it, I'm moving to a place that's tax-friendly so that my tax is very modest while I'm away. And then I said to people, now, if I, at that point, decide that I wanted to start living off that, right? If I've got 30 million at 9%, how long do you think it would last if I took out 50 grand a week? When would I run out of money? And people are like, oh, I don't know. Let's think about it. And the answer is never. Over 30 years, I would never run out of money, and it would actually grow to $55 million if I took out 50 grand a week basically for the rest of my life. And the reason I tell this story is not to brag. This is just 2 properties right behind that. It's 2 properties that I bought cheaper. They had a property cycle. I then sold those properties and so on. The point of it is to start using a compound interest calculator in your life instead of sitting there wondering. People just suck at thinking forward. And so many people don't actually sit down and go, if I can get X amount of real estate, let it go through a cycle, sell it, invest it like this, go and enjoy my life and have a little side hustle going so that can just compound, right, while I'm having a break from it all. When you do the math, you start to go, holy shit, I'm a lot closer to my goals than I thought I was. But people aren't taught how to use a compound interest calculator.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them are scared, to be honest, right? Like, ignorance is bliss. That's why, like, when I was speaking, I was like, when was the last time you actually calculated how much it costs you to live rather than just looking at a bank account balance? And majority of people have no idea what it would cost them to live. And we had a few, I did a coaching call on it, and I had a few students, clients that were at the event, and they came up to me afterwards and said, actually, you know what, I've done that, right? And I'm actually spending 30 to 40% more than what I actually thought. And now they have automatic debits coming out of certain accounts for different things that they want to invest in and stuff like that. But the reality is, once you actually work out it's scary, because once you actually work out the number, you then have to make a choice, right? And not knowing that choice sometimes is easier, like that ignorance is bliss comment, because you now have to make a choice going, all right, I'm still going to continue doing the same thing, or I'm going to make myself accountable, and I'm going to have difficult conversations with family members, with husbands, with wives, to sit down and go, actually, you know what? We're spending too much here and we're spending too much there. And that's uncomfortable, right? But what are you willing to go without in a short period of time to then, in future, have an easier life, right? And make those harder decisions up front.
And it's an emergency, Eric.
It is.
Like, people don't realize they are actually in a swimming pool with piranhas that are just eating away at their future every time the government prints an extra dollar without producing anything, you're storing your time and energy that you go to work for in a dollar. Now, I know people in our coaching group that have got millions of dollars sitting in bank and they worked for. And every time the government prints a dollar that is not worked for, they are fucking you.
Yeah.
And this is this is what people don't realize until I put that chart up and said, this is your dollars that you are. It's the worst store of energy in the world. It is like a leak. It is worse than an iPhone when they've got an update coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
like it's that bad.
Basically, with those calculations, right? If you have $1 million sitting in a bank account and just sitting there,
You're losing $45,000 a year.
Yeah,
Of post-tax money.
But the issue with that is
It's actually-
you're losing $45,000 a year, but as that year passes, prices are going up again. So you actually when you see the compounding, you're actually losing more because you're doubling it up.
Compounds, yeah. I looked at the compounding like when we went to those 6, 7, 8% in Australia. People go, it's back to 4% on 4, 5, 6, 8 compounding.
Yeah, right.
It's 4% on top of that.
Yeah.
It's actually like 25% or something up.
Like if you look at the last
crazy.
4 years, and if you could snapshot 2019 prices of multiple things to what it is today, that compounding would be astronomical.
This is why I'm so furious that there was so little accountability to the government for these enormous costs and debt that they put this nation into. And it's just like, we're not going to look into that too much. What they've done to the average punter in this country through these ridiculous lockdowns that they put us into and closing businesses, that was not free. That was the future effort of our children that was taken from this nation. And there's absolutely nothing other than, here's your payout, you're gone, the new policy's in place. And it
just moved the money from the government to the wealthy people. Like Jerry Harvey benefited probably more than that than anyone.
Those handed out he's one beneficiary because people got their money and went and bought a big screen TV.
Yeah.
But
Not everybody. That you got a couple students that were on stage that said he actually took it out to fund their lifestyle, to fund the business. That's not $1 million a month.
We had two young guys. Yeah, with 2 young guys who got up and never told their story before students of ours.
Amazing.
And they said, we took our money out of COVID and backed ourselves into the business. They're doing $1 million a month now out of Burley Heads selling one product.
I asked them the question. I said, how did you fund this thing, right? And one of them said, that $10,000 you could take out of your superannuation, you could do it twice, one on June 30th and one on July 1st. That's what I took out. But instead of buying TVs and fancy things and, NutriBullets and all the bullshit that people bought, he actually funded himself for food, rent, and the rest of it because he actually moved in with his business partner so they can then go and work their 18-hour days growing this thing, which is now doing over $1 million a month. Within how many years? 3 years.
So exciting.
That's almost.
Let's just give them a shout out. It's Nature Pharmacy, right?
Yeah, Nature's Pharmacy. If you want to see an amazing product and 2 genuinely incredible guys, Nature's Pharmacy, they sell sea moss gel, the best supplier in the world of it, and they're from Burley Heads, and it's a phenomenal product. I use it every day, twice a day. This is not a paid promo. This is just if you want to see a masterclass in creating a beautiful product and amazing culture.
Yeah, Adam just came up to us when we were at the other office, and he was like, "Mate," he just pulled out this random blue thing. He said, "Pull that spoon, go, eat." Yeah. I was like, "You sure? No, eat it." I was like, and then tried it. Amazing. Like, there's no sugar in it, but it tastes so sweet. And the amount of benefits in moss, is it moss or sea moss? Sea moss is incredible. They've got, I believe they said it's over 100 different minerals, and they've only tested it for 76 minerals. And you're like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
incredible.
You should get the distribution rights for South Korea, mate.
You never know.
30,000. They're doing 30,000 units a month.
It's crazy.
And they've just taken. They're my new tenant. So the church is moving out of the building that we looked at on the weekend, and they're moving in. And I went around to their current space, and they got 45 people in this tiny little factory, and the culture is incredible. And they're moving into the new space, putting $4.5 million worth of equipment. And they said on the day that they're going to be able to do what used to take them 8 hours in an hour and a half with the investment that they're putting into this new space. But go check them out. Let's change gears to the third section of today's pod, which is the TikTok shops. Now that got the crowd super excited. So Perry, you got a lot of feedback. Maybe you could kick us off on what it's all about.
So I can go a little bit deeper. It's actually something I've been researching and working in for a little bit of time now. Now with Australia, a really important thing to take note is TikTok Shop is not open right now. They are looking to have it open in January. But one thing that Rafe and Graham, amazing guys from the Uptick, recommended is that this is the time right now to start looking at TikTok Shop as a business, or just TikTok as a channel for your business. And one thing that I've been doing that has been amazing is, so with a couple of friends, we actually opened up a few accounts over in America and started testing out what type of content people are interested. So we used a website called KaloData, KALODATA.com. And what that shows is every single person who's selling a product on TikTok Shop. And it shows you the videos that they did, which made the highest amount of sales. So if you're someone like me, you can go on there and just go, okay, which are the highest converting videos and how do I just replicate those? And so that's what we started doing. We started looking on there, started checking out which videos were doing best. And within 6 days, we made our first sale. Then that account got banned because we tested too many things and they didn't like that. So we opened another one and we made our first sale in 5 days. And that's what I try to explain to people when it comes down to TikTok Shop. This is just America. The amount of benefit and potential there is for Australia, and it's not even open yet, is going to be second to none.
And it's not just TikTok Shop, which is basically their online e-commerce platform. In other words, you can actually purchase direct through the site. It's for people that, as you said, there's not a TikTok Shop, is not in Australia, but if you've got a brand, and it could be from e-com, info services, whatever, it's a phenomenal lead generation model to drive traffic to your Shopify store, to your Amazon listing, to whatever it may be. And that was the big takeaway I got out of it as well. It's just the amount of traffic on there is incredible. And not just that, it's not just dancing kids now. Like you've got TikTok lawyer, you've got TikTok, like you said, bonkers, and the demographics now swinging a lot to people like us be on the.
I think it was something like over 50% are over the age of 30 now.
Correct.
Something like that.
Yeah,
like that's a sin.
There's a big push. From these guys to go. Now's the time to grab your bit of real estate on TikTok, and don't think it's kids jumping around listening to dancing with weird shit in their hair.
Once that blew me away was that in the US there's over 9 million Amazon seller accounts. And in TikTok Shop, there's only 37,000. So that just goes to show you how much growth there is to be had in TikTok Shop.
Here's the crazy thing though, right, Eric? Because that was, when we talked about that before, that was probably 5-6 months ago. That number's probably doubled or even quadrupled. So it's again saying time is now to be going on to these things. And you really made a great point. The beautiful thing about TikTok is it can actually completely remove the funnel approach, because what you're doing is you are in the discovery stage, but also immediately people don't actually need to leave the app anymore. They go, okay, you do a video, it says check the link below, you press it, and all of a sudden you buy the product within 5 seconds. And it's coming to you in 2 to 3 days. It's completely changed the game. And I don't know if this is 100% yet, but there is news around that maybe Amazon or Microsoft are looking to buy TikTok in America because they need to have percentage owned by Americans. So
Controlled by Americans.
There's news about that.
To put it in perspective, when I was in the Amazon world, which is going back a few years now, but you said there was 35,000 TikTok shops?
That data, he said there was 37,000 and there was over 9 million Amazon seller-centric accounts.
So when I was teaching Amazon, there were 3,000 applications a day to join Amazon as a seller. So what you're saying, a day. So what you're saying is that there's 10 days worth of Amazon applications that are actually TikTok shops, which is phenomenal.
And like Perry said, that's obviously...
It's increasing, even if it's double that. Yeah. It's still amazing. The really critical thing that took me a minute to learn as a dummy about social media is this, about TikTok and why it's such an exciting opportunity for e-commerce people is this. Whereas like Eric, for example, is trying to build his socials, we're trying to build a YouTube, I'm trying to build my socials too, and we're trying to build a YouTube channel. It's really hard to start from zero and to get traction, right? Like we've been going a year here on YouTube, producing what I hope is reasonably good content. and we got 4,500 subs. And of those, we probably drove half of them just off our database, and the other half has just sort of happened. So in a year, for all this effort, we maybe got 2,000 followers, right? Organically from YouTube. Wild guess, right? Could be close. Anyway, the thing about the TikTok algorithm that works differently is it's what they call a democratic algorithm, which means if you create a piece of content on TikTok, rather than it being dependent on how many followers you have as to how much viewership and how viral it's going to go, what TikTok does is grab that content and shows it to an audience around that intersection that are not your followers for free. And if it gets really good retention and engagement, it then amplifies that, because TikTok doesn't care whether you've got a lot of followers or not. What it cares is if you create great content, which is determined by us testing it to a small group of users, we will shine a spotlight on it and blow that up for you, because they don't care whether you're big or small. What they care is that you create content that engages their audience. That's a really big distinction, because in the past, it's been so heartbreaking for people to start today on Instagram, like Eric's there with 2,000 followers, and I've got 60,000, and you look at people with 1 million, you just go, oh, and you're getting like 3 followers a day and 10 followers a day.
I think the big distinction there too, but everyone learned it the weekend as well, it's Instagram is polished content, whereas TikTok is raw as fuck, and the raw content converts a lot better, or as it gets more attention or eyeballs than the polish. So it's not that difficult to cut through, or at least be have some form of success with it. If you're not, such yourself as a great public speaker, there's people in there that you can hardly even understand what they're talking about. So maybe I should give it a whirl.
What really surprised me is the percentages of people that are on TikTok that aren't on Instagram or aren't on Facebook or aren't on X. Those are very high percentages. I'm not going to repeat what those are.
30%, I think.
That was 30%. Yeah. And that's a lot of people that you think you're targeting and you're not. And it's one of those things. I talk to multiple people. I have very good friends, like Ange is an example, 130,000 Instagram followers. She's worked Instagram for quite some time. She's created a big set of raving fans. And I'm like, are you on TikTok? And she's like, nah, I just, this going down that rabbit hole. And I'm just thinking to myself, obviously I know you're not on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, because I still, even hearing all this stuff, right? There's still something in my head that's going, do you go TikTok? Even though the data is there, the dancing kids is still in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It's hard to get over that.
The important thing and it's something that Raf and I were talking about, TikTok is what they call backwards compatible. And what that means is that with TikTok, if it does well, the likeliness is it may work on Instagram, it may work on YouTube Shorts. However, with Instagram, if it works well on Instagram, there's less likely that it will work on TikTok. And so using that as the funnel point for other content is actually a very smart move. Because how many times do you see on Instagram and stuff the little TikTok sign, right? They don't have it on the other ones, but it's already out of mind. So it's an important thing to take into consideration.
There's not many videos on TikTok that you'll see the Instagram icon, is there?
The other thing he said, which was good, is and we've been teaching this in our private coaching group prior to the emergence of TikTok, was that the things that really make it viable, like testing whether your brand should be on TikTok. And he said the highly demonstrative, again, is so important. And he showed that video of a woman where she had a hand over one eye and really poor lighting that was sort of down like this to show all her wrinkles. And she was clearly just shot on an iPhone. She goes, how old do you think I am? And really, I'm not trying to hide my age. How old do I look looking at this side of my face? And then she goes, covered that side and unveiled the other side where she'd used this cream that had tightened her skin. Now how old do I look? And that did $500,000 in the first week and went completely viral because it's real. But it's demonstrative. You can see it.
But with that point there about being demonstrative, and yes, it probably more leads to a product-based model, that lawyers, accountants, it's not just for e-commerce, not just for selling hats or whatever. And that's what blew me away, because I'm working on a project at the moment that's not demonstrative, it's a service, it's education. And so they'll be having a discussion with them about how you turn that into demonstrative content.
There's a guy, an Australian guy, who mows lawns, and he's got a massive following, and all he does is set up a hero cam. Is that what they're called? The little
Yeah. And like just follows him along. Or,
it just films it, and it does it in high speed, and it goes to somebody for free who's got a really overgrown lawn, and he just cleans it up. And there's something so gratifying about watching this lawn just get mowed. And people, he's got like all these followers, and now he's got this huge lawn mowing business because he's just like showing the before and after of a lawn unmowed, a lawn mowed.
It's like power washing or gurning your driveway. You know, it's so satisfying, even for the person doing it. You're just seeing this line of just black, and it just
there's actually big accounts of cars that do that, and they just clean the cars before and after.
So I just want to take a step back on the person who was doing the demonstrative where they were like this and this. So they are creators. They don't actually own the product, right? Those people are then connected to that product by just on the TikTok shop. They never even have to meet the person, right? They say, yes, I want to do this product. I will do videos. They normally buy the product themselves as well. They do a 30-second video. Potentially it blows up. They get 20% of whatever that product sells. So they make 500 grand. They make X amount from that, right?
Don't miss what you just said there. What Perry just said, you go into the TikTok shop as a seller.
Correct.
And you can connect directly with people who are indicating that we will make content for you in the TikTok shop.
Correct.
Not through an agency, not through what do they call it? A UGC agency, through TikTok. So you can basically get an army of creators once you're a seller on TikTok shop that are ready to go and demonstrate your videos in exchange. That's extraordinary.
It's crazy. There was a story of a lady. She had a bit of a following, obviously, on TikTok. She had a set of products. I believe it was like 4 or 5 products, and she did an hour live stream. Okay. Now I'll get into this in a second. She did an hour live stream. Guess how much she made in 1 hour? $1 million. $1 million from one product set.
Was there anything? Was she naked or hot or something, or is it like?
Yes, she was hot.
Okay.
Yes, it was. She kind of had like a studio-esque setup, but it was, the videos, everything around it.
Yeah. He asked you 2 questions: was she hot and was she naked? I want to know was she naked.
And was the OnlyFans link in there at the bottom?
No.
That's the product.
You're degenerates. The reason I asked the question was because I wanted to know legit, because I'm trying to find, like, for young people listening to this who are at a loss as to how to beat 6% inflation, where should I be directing my attention? Because there are all kinds of really interesting, quirky people now that, if you know it, like Eric gave a great talk on the
quirky people.
No, Eric, on Saturday, Eric made a great talk, and he said, know what you are, know what you want not. Some people went to Saturday's property day and go, I'm Shannon, I'm Carson, I love real estate, I could do that. Other people go, I'm a bit quirky, but I'm really good on camera. This is a legit opportunity, like massive. If I had that ability to go and sit in home with no capital and could represent these brands like Nature's Pharmacy and create really compelling TikToks for Nature's Pharmacy, and I didn't need an audience to start with, but I did just could be creative, like the guys who are here today filming for us, 7XILs, right? If you want to follow these guys, at 7, number 7, XILLS. They're a great young Gold Coast videography company, and they've stepped in since Richard's left to help us out. These guys could have a department of their business where they're expert content creators, that they could create amazing TikToks for Nature's Pharmacy to take them an hour, and they could have 20% commission on an already hit product. And they don't need an audience for it.
Yeah, question.
Because it's a democratic algorithm. Like, I'm trying to connect the dots for you guys out there.
The question I have is, if they're on there and that goes viral as an example, and I'm one of the purchasers that purchased that product, if I keep on purchasing in the future, do I still get affiliate income, or is it a one-off?
So from that video, it will just be one purchase from that video.
Okay.
So it's a performance marketing based on that, but it touches on another basis. So we all know what QVC is, that live network, and you're talking to the camera, you're responding to people. There's a whole movement on TikTok at the moment where I'll just be holding the product. You just see my hands, right? And it's looking at the camera, and I'm going, yeah, this product does this. It's amazing. And then someone's responding, does it do this? That's right. It can do that. However, it does. And people are making too much money just doing that on its own now.
I just think about it like my mom's retiring in March, right? And she's kind of like, what am I going to do? I'm going to be bored. But this is a perfect example. Like, I mean, she's not she's on Instagram and Facebook. Don't get me wrong, Instagram and Facebook. She's not the most tech savvy person, but let me tell you, if there was a way that she knows that she could make an extra $1,000 a week,
do you know how many people would relate to your mum?
Yeah.
Like that lady that was doing that eye thing.
Yeah.
If I'm doing the math right here, if she made 500 grand, and you can tell, there's a piece of software they use called Calo Data.
Correct.
Kalo, Calo Data.
Yeah.
That you can look at an ad and it'll tell you how much it did in sales on TikTok Shop.
Yeah.
So if I'm correct here, if that lady's video did $500,000 in a week, she made 100 grand.
Yeah.
On
If she's on a 20% commissions, but even 15%,
call it 10,
yeah,
50 grand,
right?
Oh my God.
People work a year for 50 grand.
For one video.
And she, no offense to the lady, she's not a model. Like she is an older lady, probably 60, with wrinkles, and that is why she made the money. Like your mum. Your mum's a sweetheart. Yeah. I know she's watching the pod, so I'm getting some mum points here. But she's the only one. But Eric's mum will be watching this, and it's a legitimate opportunity for real people to make real money from real products.
Yeah. But even if this one step further, if you're not great on camera to making the content to sell someone else's product, go use Calo Data, find out what's working, go find some influencers and become and just join the dot and sit right out in the middle.
Exactly.
And then you don't even need a product. You don't need to be the creator. You don't need to do anything. Just work out what's selling, work out, copy the content and improve it by 5%, as I said, and then go find products and just keep doing that. And so one of the biggest constraints with Amazon and all those and Shopify and whatnot is you could have a shit ton of capital tied up in inventory. Here you don't need any.
No.
And you probably end up with the same margin on fucking Amazon now anyway.
It's like an affiliate. Yeah, correct. You're probably better actually. Yeah. If it's 20%, you're better than most Amazon sellers.
Yeah.
So the affiliate marketing model, it's kind of affiliate marketing, but with the world's most addictive and fastest growing viral tools to help you create. And so I want to ask you, Perry, how do people connect with Raf and Graham? Because Raf and Graham are clients of ours and friends of ours. Graham's been a client of ours, and they are running a program called The Uptick.
Yeah.
So THE, The Uptick, UPTIK, is it?
Yeah, correct.
The Uptick. And is there some deal or something if you're following the pod, or should they mention us? Or
Yeah, so we'll probably put a link in the description or something, but my recommendation, if you guys have a product and you want to get it launched onto TikTok, they are 100% the way to go. Look,
Tell them that we sent you, because we'd like to know how many of you actually go over and connect with them. We're trying to get a sense of the traction that the pod gets. So tell them that you came from Unemployable Podcast, but if you've got a brand and you want to blow it up on TikTok, Raf and Graham are unbelievable.
Correct.
Raf's one of the best teachers I've seen in a lot. He actually was a school teacher, actually. But he's now blown up brand. He's done 2 Amazon exits. Really good.
He's super switched on. Like he's a marketing genius. He's a really, really sharp.
He's working with us with our new consumer product.
Yeah, the questions he asked, like he pulled me inside at the dinner and he sits down and he's like, I got 3 questions for you. Right. And he sits there and he listens. Right. And I answer the questions and he's like, oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And then the following day, he sends me a message going, Eric, thank you so much for the event. Thank you so much for the weekend. Unbelievable, electric, yada, yada, yada. And he goes, just so you know, this is what I learned. And basically in the message said exactly, almost word for word, my answers to his questions. And he's like, and this is what I'm implementing. Thank you. I'm just like, no one has ever done that before.
Quality guy.
Yeah.
And Graham's amazing too.
Yeah.
So go look him up. Guys, that's the hour. Hopefully that's helpful for you watching at home or listening wherever you are. I like this format.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, it kind of puts a bit of focus and time on the sections.
Yeah, and framework around it as well.
Yeah, lovely, yeah.
But what matters most is not what we think, it's what you think at home. So please drop a comment. Let us know, is this a better format? And we'll...
For the Friday pod.
For the Friday pods, yeah. Let us know.
I'll have to fly in every Friday then, or Tuesday. It's going to be a shit show. Yeah. Talk on that after this.
Well, you're the face of Expedia. I'm sure you can sort something out.
Oh, should we add that in somewhere?
Okay, well, guys, thank you for watching. We appreciate your attention. As always, remember, go check out our friends at 7XLs on Instagram, at 7XILLS. Go check out our friends at theuptick.com. And keep an eye on our socials. If you don't follow us on social media, at Unemployable Media, or you can follow Eric at it's Eric Machado. James?
It's James Denham.
It's James Denham, Denham. And Perry?
I'm at Unemployable Media, mate.
You run Unemployable.
Yeah, you've given me the keys recently, and it's going to be a bad idea.
Let's go.
But follow us there, guys, because that's where we're going to let you know when this workbook is ready to be downloaded. We've got a couple of things we've got to do on the tech side because we're morons in that area. It'll take us a minute. But in the next few days, we'll work something out and you'll be able to get the workbook from that property day. If you're interested in joining our coaching and getting around this extraordinary bunch of people and start realizing you're in a swimming full of piranhas that are taking little chunks out of you all the time and get serious about growing your money, not at 4, 5, or 6, but greater, you need to get around the room. And the fastest way to do that is to get coached, get around the people that are getting the coaching and accelerate it. It is an emergency. You're going backwards and the government doesn't want you to know it, but you are, unless you're outperforming the market really well. With that said, thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.